On the north shore of Lake Huron, there's a place called the Les Chenaux Islands. It's a little known place that's made up of 36 different islands. In this episode of Will It Sell, I'm going to be making this 3D bathymetrical map of the west entrance to these islands. The whole point of this series is to make unique products and highlight the cost and time that goes into them. And at the end, to answer the final question of, will it sell? The first step to this project is designing and preparing the files to be cut on the laser. I went to the internet to find a bathymetrical map of the area I'll be making the map of. I happened to find a high quality map on NOAA's website, which is a United States government website. The map just serves as a guide to be able to trace, so you actually don't use the physical map here. So this is the extremely time-consuming part of this entire project. Basically, you have to trace all of the different topographical lines and create them into different layers. I used Adobe Illustrator to accomplish this, but any similar software will work, like Inkscape or something along those lines. I started tracing the deepest part of the lake and made that the deepest layer on my map, and then just worked up from there. Another thing I did that really helped was color code the different layers. That way I could just tell what was going where. As you can see, there's a lot of lines here, and it's nice to be able to tell them apart. Once I had all the vector lines traced, it was time to add the labels. I tried adding the text labels in Adobe Illustrator, but found it was easier to do this in my laser software. So I've done 3 tests up to this point. So I cut these 2 pieces like this to wrap my mind around this topography and how it's gonna lay out. And the biggest thing is how it's gonna align. So I'm actually cutting out the inside of the contours. So these fit into here. These are two different layers. So what we get if we line these boards up on the edges, which that's my reference, I'm putting it in the laser the same way every time. And so this is what we get, is this offset of the bottom of the lake. So now we're gonna have 5 layers built up like this. So underneath all of this is gonna be this backer board. So it's gonna look like this with the letters underneath. The material I'm using is an 1/8 inch plywood, but it has an oak veneer on the front of it. You can see the back is just a traditional plywood. The front has an oak veneer. I put the masking on myself. Bought this off Amazon, just 12 inch wide, basically giant masking. All right, so I'm gonna be using this transparent blue stain to stain my water areas. So we're gonna use this piece that will just be trash here in a second to lay out all of our small pieces. All right, so now I've got it cut down to my final size, and I went ahead and got some walnut cutoffs that I have here in the shop, and I'm gonna make a frame, kind of encapsulate everything, and then we'll put a nice finish on it, and this piece will be finished. All right, so here is the final prototype. There are a couple things that I would do differently, and I think before you are ready to bring a product to the market, before you're ready to start advertising, it takes a couple iterations. This is my first time doing a bathymetric map like this, and so I think there's can be some improvements, but I'm happy for where it's at. So let's move to the materials. Material costs are really low on this one. The plywood, I have about $5 into the plywood. I'm gonna add another $5 for the walnut border and the stain and glue and all those items. So all in all, we have 4 hours into this project. At a shop rate of $25 an hour, that's $100, plus our $10 for materials, times our 1.5, is $165. So to answer the question, will it sell? Yes, it will, But let's move back. Where will it sell? How will it sell? What will it sell for? Because not every product sells the same, and you can't just plop it on Etsy and just magically expect to get a bunch of sales. So how can we strategically sell a really custom project like this? The first scenario that comes to mind is at craft shows. Someone that is from this area or has a connection to this area is willing to pay that $165 all day long. So this is just a matter of finding the right customer. For this particular item, I know there is a wooden boat show that has a craft fair at the location of this map. And so I know if I get into that craft fair and I make these, they will sell because people are in that area, from that area. They own wooden boats. They have lots of money. They're not going to blink at 165 bucks. 165 butts. Yes. The more niche the product is, the more it's important to get in front of the right audience. So are craft shows the only place you can sell items like this? Well, no. Also try Facebook in your area, specific to your area, but also try Instagram and use relevant hashtags. I've talked about this before. A lot of my business has come from using hashtags of towns in my area. And people search for those and they come across your products and they already have that connection. A couple notes on the hurdles of this specific product. The design time. There's a lot of design time up front, but you can repeat them really quickly. I'll have 2 hours into making a map after I have the file. And so if you think I'll have $25 into each one, so 50, 60, I'll have $60 into each one. And if I can sell them for $165 a piece, I make $100 a piece. So that's the power of CNCs, whether that's a CNC router or CNC laser. Once you have the file, you can make as many of them as you can sell. One thing that I would do differently next time is I would make it larger, but this was the biggest I could make on my CNC laser. If I earned it and you got value out of this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button below. It really helps me out with all that algorithm stuff. I've got another episode of Will It Sell right here. I'll see you in that video.